season is upon us. Well, let's say the preseason. Cincinnati Bengals travel to Tampa Bay Saturday night to play the Buccaneers. And you're in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. And I'm going to tell you about my first preseason game. What a rush. Unbelievable. Because childhood dream of every kid that plays football is to play in the National Football League. And I can remember watching games with my grandfather, the Baltimore Colts and Johnny Unitas, who he loved, and the New York Giants would battle. And I lived up in the Northeast, up in the Boston area, and we get those games on a national broadcast every weekend. And I remember when I was about 8 years old, looking at my grandfather and said, "Grandpa, I'm going to do that someday." And he'd be like, "Yeah, okay, fine," tap me on the head like whatever. And it was just a dream from that point forward to try to play in the National Football League. Well, here it was, 1974, preseason game number 1, and our opponent at Riverfront Stadium that night, the Miami Dolphins. And this is the Miami Dolphin era when Don Shula, who obviously Hall of Famer, God rest his soul, but the Dolphins were on a roll. 1972, they went 14-0 in the regular season, and they ran the table, go 17-0, win the Super Bowl. The last team in the National Football League to have a perfect season. And everybody knows when the last team that's undefeated any year in the National Football League loses, the Dolphins all get together and they toast the fact that they're still the last team that went the entire season all the way through the Super Bowl undefeated. The following year, 1973, they went 12-2, and the Bengals lost to the Miami Dolphins 34-16 in the playoffs that year as the Dolphins advanced in the playoffs. So this was the last time the Bengals played was that 1973 playoff game against the Dolphins. And here it is, first preseason game of 1974, playing the Dolphins again. And you talk about jacked up. This was my personal Super Bowl. And as a rookie, I ended up playing in this football game. I started the game at the right tackle position. I think I mentioned in an earlier podcast that Darrell White was drafted in the 4th round out of Nebraska. I was drafted in the 3rd round out of Syracuse. We were the All-American guards as such, and Tiger Johnson wanted to see if I could play tackle. He put me out there at the right tackle position. So my first exposure to the National Football League was at right tackle against the Miami Dolphins, who just a dominant football team, to say the least. In the prior 2 regular seasons, all they did was go 26-2. So, I mean, all the guys that I had watched on television, Manny Fernandez, Mike Stanfield, Vern Den Herder, Nick Bonaconte, Jake Scott, of the no-name defense, and then Jim Langer, Larry Little, Bob Greasy, Mercury Morris, Larry Zonka, a fellow alum out of Syracuse University, and Jim Kipp at the running back position, Paul Warfield, the wide receiver. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I'm going to be on the same football field with these guys? I wanted to take my autograph book out there on the field with me when I was stretching and warming up, because I'm looking at the other end of the field and I'm seeing all these guys, a bunch of future Hall of Famers, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. Well, first preseason game, quite a few of them didn't play all that much, but Earl Morrall played quarterback instead of Bob Greasy. And Earl Morrall was a guy that I'd watched a ton, growing up, loving the game in the National Football League. Jim Langer started at the center position, the Hall of Famer, great center. And Jake Scott started at safety for the Miami Dolphins. And so it was just truly amazing. And wanted to win that game badly. It was tied 13-13 at the half. And we ended up beating the Miami Dolphins 19-13 in that football game, and ended up having a very, very strong preseason. We went 4-2 in that preseason, and I just thought, man, this is the National Football League. This is just unbelievable. I'm going to have to do this as long as I can. This is like an all-time high. I don't think I slept the night after that game because of the adrenaline rush. I could not calm myself down. And I remember after the football game at midfield talking to Larry Zonka, because as I said, I met him. He came to Syracuse University when I was a student athlete there, and got to meet him, and then to be on the same football field as Larry Zonka. And he's introducing me to to Jim Kick and Ricky Morris and Bob Greasy and all these guys. I was on cloud 9. So I hope every guy that plays in their first preseason game for the Cincinnati Bengals on Saturday night, because I know a lot of these guys are going to be Tom Brady. Are you kidding me? I'm on the same football field as Tom Brady. How lucky can a rookie be? This is unbelievable. I'm actually doing the same thing that Tom Brady's doing. So I know there's going to be a lot of rookies that are going to get that first experience, that first taste of the National Football League. I'll never forget. Theirs is on the road, but at Riverfront Stadium, going into that locker room for the very first time. And this is where my locker will be if I can make the football team. Putting on that NFL uniform, putting on that NFL helmet with the Bengals letter logo, just spelling Bengals back in the day before the striped helmets. I mean, it was just an unbelievable experience to go through and go out there and play football and run around with a bunch of heroes on the same football field. Dream come true.
Hi, Dave Lapham here. Have you heard about In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics? Catch new episodes from the world of sports and broadcasting. Search for In the Trenches with Dave Lapham on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.